Good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to our first How Do They Do That Live of this school year. And our topic today is going to be distance learning best practices. And my name is Alexandra Hancock, and I'm going to be your Master of Ceremonies today. We have a couple of great topics for you today to learn a little bit more about distance learning and some tips and tricks, and we have 4 great presenters. I just want to give you a little bit of context for how they do that live, just so you kind of understand the whole idea behind this event. So how they do that live is really designed to take great things that are happening in the classroom and really amplify that across the district. So we know that there's a lot of great innovation happening with ed tech in the classroom, and sometimes you know your colleague is doing something great, or you hear about something awesome at another school, but you don't really hear, kind of some district-wide tips and tricks that are happening. And so that's kind of the idea of the genesis behind this whole series of webinars is we really want to take those really good teaching practices that have really strong ed tech integration in them, and we want to actually broadcast that to a much wider audience. So this really isn't me and my team talking to you and training you. This is actually going to be those teacher voices, and that's who we have presenting with us today. And we're going to switch over to our final presenter now, Jacob Neverett, and I hope I'm saying your last name correctly. And he has some ideas for high school, and I'm actually going to switch to his camera feed completely so that you can see some of the awesome things that he has set up for his students. I just want to take a moment that the district is not going to pay for RGB lighting for all of you guys. Jacob has invested a significant amount of his own money in this, but I think he's doing some awesome stuff. And take it away, Jacob.
So, hey everyone, nice to be here with you guys. Really a little bit about how I got here and what brought me to this point. For me, really, once we found out we were going live with all these students, my thing was, and just like I'm sure a lot of you, one of my favorite parts of teaching was building that relationships with your students, not just us learning how they are, but letting them see what we are like, what are our interests and stuff like that. So my goal was I wanted to figure out there's got to be somehow, some way that they're already doing this. They've got to be used to some form of online communities that we're just not aware of. So I went ahead, picked the brain of my younger brother, who's actually in high school, and asked them, hey, what are some of the things that you're into right now? Because I see him on his phone all the time. And I just thought, well, what are you actually doing on your phone? What are you so captivated by? What interests you? What makes things easier to watch? If I wanted to replicate that in a classroom, could I? So he showed me where he went. I saw the app. Some of you might know it. It's called Twitch. And basically just kind of how it's similar to, sorry, Alethia's, sorry if I butchered that, but similar to your ideas on gaming and video games are huge with high schoolers. And so is streaming. Streaming is probably one of the biggest things that I've seen increase rapidly. A lot of people are trying to do it. A lot of our students are watching someone else do it. So I thought, well, why not try to replicate that in the high school room? Why not try to get the lights, set them up? And the thing that I liked about a lot of the people that I watched was that they already had a positive community within their own streams. People would chat all the time, and a lot of things and a lot of ideas that they get in trouble for are things that are toxic that we actually don't want in the classroom. So a lot of them were actually used to commenting and chatting onto streams because they feel like they're part of a different community. So I made it my goal. I wanted to create that community inside my math classroom. How could I best mimic that? The one thing I saw, one of the first things was lights. For whatever reason, they like lights. So they have fun with them. I don't know what, maybe because they're different. I saw that they had different camera angles. So I'm sure after seeing the same camera angle, trying to do something different was another idea of how could I make my visuals different from other teachers. A lot of times I saw that streamers would play music. So I went ahead and brought that music to my classroom. Okay, I'll play music in the background sometimes. Sorry, it wasn't working quite well that time. I think it's not connected correctly. But I have the ability to play music in the background to show them my notes. Another big thing that I do as well that I noticed that I learned from watching these people was that they also always show their face, whether they're playing a video game, whether they're doing, they always make it a point. So I also, when I'm taking note, I make an effort to sort of show my face somewhere on the screen so that they can see me and watch me take notes. Now, there's different ways to do this. I had to learn how to do it this way. Again, like mentioned before, it kind of costs, but I know that's a great tip that I do think that they need to see. It's much more important for them to see our face than for them to just watch notes being written. Also, I've tried to involve them in every step of the way, you know, with little things like the colors. You know, a great activity that I did with them that helped them get to know me and that opened up discussions about them was a decorative background. You know, I didn't want just a background that they couldn't see, that they couldn't really figure out. I wanted to put something in the background that really allowed them to get an idea of what kind of person I was, who I was. And day one, all I did was I asked them, hey, what can you tell about me based on the background? So they went ahead and they shot off right away, sports, superheroes, all this. And within those conversations, they started opening up about themselves, about what they like. Are you excited for this? You know, every single morning before we meet, another big thing I do is, you know, I do, as some of them presenters today have mentioned, I do greetings. I welcome them. I say, hey, how you guys doing? What's going on? It's good to see you guys. Anything new, anything up to date? And, you know, it's really, it's nice. It's very nice. I really feel like I've built that positive community with them. It takes a lot of high energy sometimes, and sometimes I have to find somewhere to pull it out, but it's a big help with me. And I got to tell you, it's worked out well, and I really do feel like a lot of them are enjoying it. Another thing I do to kind of, you know, another thing that I noticed as well that sort of brings them comfort is a lot of times, you know, we ourselves know we have tech issues all the time. And a lot of times, I personally, even myself, if I was running late to something, if I had tech issues, I would get anxiety about, oh my gosh, I'm late. Oh, I hope I didn't miss anything. I hope I really, like, I'm good and I'm on time. And even though I'd be on time sometimes, I would have a worry about me being late and missing out on information. So what I went ahead and did is I just created a simple welcome, class is going to start. This is an example one. I have other ones as well, but just something to let them know that, hey, you're here, you're on time, you're good, class hasn't started yet, you can relax, there's no tech issues. And not only has this helped them sort of figure out whether or not they're on time, but even my students that are late, they know that if they didn't see this, it gives them a clue about, okay, he probably already started. And I don't get those questions like, oh, what'd I miss? So much. I made a YouTube channel where I upload my recorded videos on lessons. This has also helped me out in terms of it makes them feel like they're never left out. I allowed them to help me choose the name to the YouTube channel, and I feel like that also has helped them sort of be part of this, make sure that they're never lost. And it just makes them, I really do feel like they have a sense of comfort. I've also tried to add fun things, kind of like Kahoot, but for me personally, quizzes has worked better on my end. And one small detail that I do now that I didn't really do when they were in here because they could see it, you know, I try to live comment on the scoreboard, who's going in first, try to make it super interactive so that as if I'm a sports commentator commenting on who's taking the lead and things like that. All of this with the music, with the lights, you know, yes, it costs quite a bit. There are other ways to do it, but I definitely feel that it's helped me build that. They've come into, and I really do feel like some students, when they're watching me in my math class, I've been able to transform it, even with little details like lights and showing myself all the time. They feel like they're watching a streamer instead of them, which is nice because for some of them that lets them actually pay attention a little bit easier. They get to know who I am. They feel safe and comfortable. I feel like I got a lot of interaction. I mainly use my chat when I'm teaching, pretty much just because I know that's what they're most comfortable with. I've tried it with the cameras, and for me personally, it didn't work. But for others, I know it's working out a lot better. And kudos to you guys. Great. I wish I could be there, and I'm hoping eventually I can open them up and make them feel comfortable enough to do that. But right now, I feel like I'm getting so much more interaction because they know that they don't have to expose themselves. And I feel like even some of them have their own personal identity of who they are when they're commenting. So that's just a little bit of tips and tricks that I have learned and how I have sort of stepped up my game on how to make this a better sort of experience for them. Which whiteboard programs you use? So yeah, I was using OneNote. I use OneNote for my notes most of the time.
I've got
but
a
yeah,
couple other. Sorry,
oh,
go ahead, Jacob.
No, go ahead. I know I was going to say that. I know I missed some questions.
Yeah, I kind of was jotting them down as they were coming in. So one person wanted to know the name of your YouTube channel. So I'm sure they want to go watch all your videos and get super inspired.
It's kind of a funny name that the student chose, but some of them resonated with it. It's actually, and I'll share it on the screen, actually, so it was Math Addict, but with the ADD capitalized. Math Addict. And some of the students, at first, we thought, well, it has the word add in it. And then I had a couple students kind of say they resonated it with a different sort of way because they thought that the word said ADD, which they thought, I have ADD, so I like it.
Oh, I like that. Kind of multiple meanings. It's a pun,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
for those kids that maybe do suffer ADD or have ADD, they identify. That's fun. I had another question that came in, and I think maybe this is a little bit more for me, but I hope other people are wondering. So you talk about how you really let your students kind of just embrace the chat. Have you had any issues with students being negative or going off topic, or how do you kind of manage that?
So I actually, in the beginning sometimes, and not really though. The only times where they might want to go further in the chat than what they want is in the beginnings with when we're sort of greeting each other. That's the only time I have to put a stop to it because that. But it's quite easy. I just tell them, all right, you guys, cool. We'll pick this up another time. Let's go and we got to get into our lesson. In terms of them being negative and rude, I really do think that because in general, when they're watching a stream and they're commenting the stream, any sort of racist, sexist, and any other type of toxic negative comments, they're really not something that you want to do even in those types of streams that are outside of the classroom. The worst thing that I've seen so far that I had to tell them, like, hey, kind of watch that, was the abbreviation LMAO. And I simply just told them, hey, I know to you it's probably not that bad, but just keep in mind, everything in here, it gets saved. And district admins can walk at any point, and I don't want you getting in trouble. I don't want to get in trouble, Let's just try to be professional and keep this sort of positive, say LOL, They are using other terms that they would use in a game stream, which I'm totally fine with. One of them is like poggers or omega lol, which they're not bad. They just mean like, oh, that was nice. That was cool. Awesome.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing that. I think there's, I think we've had some students out there who maybe have used chat inappropriately, but I really like that idea of, hey, you wouldn't do this on a Twitch stream, so why would you do it in my class? I like how you're kind of taking advantage of kind of what's trending with students in general right now. There was kind of a more techie question that came in, and this might not be the most appropriate forum, so definitely let me know. But quite a few people were curious, how are you showing your screen and the camera at the same time? Can you do that with any program? Is it kind of specialized? So can you go a little bit more into what you're doing?
So that is a little bit more of a techie question. I know ways to do it with using a program called OBS. That's a different sort of program where you can pull in multiple, like a camera angle and a desktop angle, and you can size them both up, and then you can send that feed to Teams. What I use, which to be honest, like if I had to do that, I don't know if I'd be doing this. I use a video switcher to help me do that. I don't have a camera hooked up to it right now, but that's essentially what I do. I have a little video switcher on my desk that allows me to switch between angles, allows me to go picture in picture in multiple areas. The video switcher allows me to do different types of effects where I can sort of transition in between things. And again, this is more of a techie type thing. If you're interested in that, basically this device that I have sends everything that I have connected to it to Teams as a webcam. It converts everything for me into a webcam idea, so that I don't have to do any converting or anything or go with any program. It's called an ATEM Mini, and that's what allows me to do this.
Perfect. Thank you for sharing. And that's something that you purchased on your own, correct?
Yes, and I didn't even have to program the picture-in-picture or anything. Those are all buttons that are on this little device.
All right. I've used ATEMs before. I used to do the board streaming, so I've used those before.
Okay,
and
nice.
It does take a little bit of getting used to, though. It's definitely something you'd want to take some time to really learn and play with if that's the route you wanted to go. But as we kind of all saw, your end result looks really cool. It looks really seamless and polished. So
Thank you.
Yeah, good job on that. I'm going to go ahead and flip back to the presentation now. So thank you for sharing, and thank you for showing us all your neat, cool tricks. Jacob kind of took a moment to kind of highlight, he distilled all this into kind of 4 key ideas here. As you can see, he has a creative background, and he went, it looks like super low tech except for the RGB lights. He went really low tech with that background. He's just got some interesting things on the walls. He's got some neat lighting. So that's definitely something that would be easy to replicate. If you don't have, that ability to change the background behind you, you're working from home, or you've just got a blank wall behind you, Teams does have that new virtual background feature as well. So you could definitely find any picture online and throw that up behind you as well, and Teams does a pretty decent job. I also like that Jacob really embraced the chat, and just kind of leaned into that's really how students are identifying right now. They're talking with their different Twitch streamers that way, so he did embrace it and just kind of, gently reminded them of different ways to behave appropriately, and it sounds like they picked that up pretty quickly. It sounds like music was a big thing. He, starts class with music. He has music at different moments, so that's definitely another thing you can incorporate that's pretty low tech. Just get up a Pandora stream on your computer. When you share your desktop, make sure you share the audio. Students can hear that. And then I think one of the key ideas that we're seeing, not just from Jacob, but from all of our presenters today, is students need to be able to see you. That human connection piece is really, really important. So them being able to see Jacob and his interesting background, or them being able to see Kim or Aletha, that just kind of increases that person-to-person connection, especially when, Aletha talked about making eye contact with the camera, or, making students really feel seen. I think that's a really important takeaway here. So I want to take a moment to see if there's any overall other questions that came in that we can address. And I might see if, depending on who the presenter is, hopefully they'll be able to come on live and answer the question. So I think this was already answered, but Jacob, which video switcher do you recommend?
So I actually recommend the one that I have, mainly because video switchers are usually generally expensive. Like normally around $1,000 to $2,000. Not the one that I have though. The ATEM Mini is the one that I would recommend, simply because that is one of the cheapest ones, that, if not the cheapest one, that you can find, that really eliminates a lot of the other techie stuff that you need to be able to have, like capture cards and other devices. The ATEM Mini, you can find it on websites like B&H Photo or Adorama. If you search it up, ATEM Mini, ATEM, ATEM, and then just the word mini, you'll find it. You'll find it there. You'll see links to it on places you can buy it. This one typically runs for $300. So if that's something you're interested in, I do definitely think, simply in terms of convenience of what it can do for me, it's saving me a lot of times in terms of setup and that what it can do, the buyout, like from it, like to me, it's totally worth it. But I understand if like for others, it might not be that way.
Perfect, thank you. And then does that ATEM video switcher, does that work with Schoology conferences as well?
I was trying it with conferences, and it does work as well, simply because it works the same way a webcam does. When you plug it into the computer, you connect it via USB to your Surface. I connect it to my Surface dock. You can connect it to the Surface itself, but when you connect it, your computer automatically reads it as a webcam. you'll just go to your webcams and it'll automatically just say there, Blackmagic Design, which is the company that makes it. Blackmagic Design, and you just select that, and whatever you have connected to it will automatically show up.
Perfect, thank you. And I'm assuming that means you can have multiple cameras as well as different computer screens coming into that and using that?
Yeah, so it actually has 2 mic inputs and 4 camera inputs. So the way I have it set up, I have a little mirrorless camera here set up running into it. And then I have sort of a mini Surface Pro, the Surface Go, connected into it as well, coming in as another display. So you can connect a computer coming into it as a display as well. And then I have a little mic on it as well.
Perfect, thank you for sharing. If people have questions for you, can they email you and ask you more about the ATEM?
Yeah, that's fine. That's totally okay.
Okay, perfect. So yeah, definitely feel free if that's an investment you want to make. Jacob's our video switcher expert, so feel free to reach out to him.